Hi, boys and girls. This fantastic book I have today is filled with a lot of words, so let's get to it. It's called The Name Jar. The Name Jar by Yang Suk Choi. Through the school bus window, Yoon Hai looked at the strange buildings and the houses on the way to her new school. It was her first day, and she was both nervous and excited. She fingered the little block of wood in her pocket, remembering leaving her grandmother at the airport in Korea. Her grandmother had wiped away Yoon Hai's tears and handed her an ink pad and a small red satin pouch. "Your name is inside," she had said. "My name?" Yoon Hai had wondered. Again, she took out the red pouch to look at the wooden block with her name carved on it. As she ran her fingers across the grooves and ridges of the Korean characters, she pictured her grandmother's smile. "Is that the thing for show and tell?" a boy asked Yoon Hai, surprising her. Yoon Hai looked up as more kids leaned over. "No, it's mine," Yoon Hai answered, quickly putting the pouch back in her pocket. "Are you new here? What's your name?" a girl asked. "Yoon Hai," said Yoon Hai. "Uni?" the girl asked, scrunching up her face. "Oh, Uni," some kids chanted. No, Yoon Hai corrected. It's spelled Unhei. It's pronounced Yoon Hai. "Oh, it's Yoon Hey," the boy said. "Like you, hey. What about hey you?" Just then the bus pulled up to the school and the doors opened. Yoon Hai hurried and got off. "You hey, bye-bye," the kids yelled as she left. Yoon Hai felt herself blush. Yoon Hai stood in the doorway of her new and noisy classroom. She was relieved that the kids on the bus had gone to other rooms, but her face still felt red. "Aren't you going in?" asked her curly-haired boy with lots of dots on his face. "You're the new girl, right?" he asked cheerfully. Yoon Hai nodded, and before she could walk away, the boy took her hand and pulled her through the door. "Here's the new girl," he announced so loudly that the teacher, Mr. Kokotos, almost dropped his glasses. Mr. Kokotos thanked him and greeted Yoon Hai. "Please welcome our newest student," he said to the class. "She and her family just arrived from Korea last week." Yoon Hai smiled broadly and tried not to show her nervousness. "What's your name?" somebody shouted. Yoon Hai pictured the kids on the bus. I haven't picked one yet," she told the class, "but I'll let you know by next week." As Mr. Kokotos showed her to her desk, she felt many round, curious eyes on her. "Why doesn't she have a name?" she heard someone whisper. "Maybe she robbed a bank in Korea and she needs a new identity," a boy replied. On the bus home, nobody teased her, but Yoon Hai kept thinking about her name. "How was school, Yoon Hai?" her mother asked when she walked in. "Did you understand the teacher?" Yoon Hai simply nodded. She unpacked her school bag and set the red pouch by a photograph of her grandma. "I'm glad you were learning English well," her mother said. "You must study hard and behave nicely and get good grades to show that you are good." "I will," replied Yoon Hai, "but I think I would like my own American name," she said quickly. Her mother looked at her in surprise. "Why? Yoon Hai is a beautiful name. Your grandma and I went to a name master for it." "But it's so hard to pronounce," Yoon Hai complained. "I don't want to be different from all the American kids." "You are different, Yoon Hai," her mother said. "That's a good thing." Yoon Hai just wrinkled her nose. Later that day, Yoon Hai and her mother went to a grocery shopping in their new neighborhood. They passed Fadil's Falafel, Tony's Pizza, and Dot's Deli. A big graffiti-painted garbage truck roared like a lion as it took off down the street. Nothing sounded or looked familiar until they got to Kim's Market. The sign was in both English and Korean. Her mother picked up a cabbage to make kimchi, Korean-styled spicy pickled cabbage, and other vegetables and meat. She also found some seaweed, Yoon Hai's favorite for soup. It made Yoon Hai smile. "Just because we moved to America," her mother said, "doesn't mean we stop eating Korean food." At the checkout counter, a friendly man smiled at Yoon Hai. "Helping your mother with the shopping?" he asked. Yoon Hai nodded. "I'm Mr. Kim," he said. "And what's your name?" "Yoon Hai," she answered. "Ah, what a beautiful name," he said. "Does it mean Grace?" Yoon Hai nodded again. "My mother and grandmother went to a name master for it," she told him. "A graceful name for a graceful girl," Mr. Kim said as he put their groceries into bags. "Welcome to the neighborhood, Yoon Hai." That evening, Yoon Hai stood in front of the bathroom mirror. "Hi, my name is Amanda," she said cheerfully. Then she wrinkled her nose. "Hi, my name is Laura." Maybe not. Her smile turned down. Nothing sounded right. Nothing felt right. "I don't think American kids will like me," she was worried as she began to brush her teeth. "Hi, my name is Susie," she said in the mirror with her mouth full of toothpaste. Next morning, when Yoon Hai arrived at school, she found a glass jar on her desk with some pieces of paper in it. Yoon Hai took one out and read it aloud. "Daisy." "That's my baby sister's nickname, but she says you can use it if you want," said Cindy, who sat next to her. Yoon Hai took the rest of the paper out. "Tamala," she read. "I got it from a storybook," said Nate. "She was smart and brave." Yoon Hai nodded and unfolded another piece. "Wednesday?" "Yeah, you came here on a Wednesday," said Ralph. "Oh, thank you for your help." A smile spread over Yoon Hai's face. Ralph quickly said, "We'll put more names in it. You can pick out whatever you like, or pick them all, so you have the longest name in history." At 3 o'clock, the bell rang for the end of the school day. Yoonhai looked out the window and saw it was sprinkling. It's the same rain, she thought, but in a different place. She watched the other kids leaving in groups. Hey! A familiar voice called out to her. Yoonhai turned around to see the only curly-haired boy again. I'm Joey, he said. And you? Don't you have any name? Yoonhai thought for a moment. Well, I can show you, she said, and took out the small red pouch. She pressed the wooden block on the ink pad and then stamped it on a piece of paper. This is my name stamp, she said. My grandma gave it to me in Korea. I can use it as a signature when I open a bank account or write a letter, and whenever I miss my grandma, I use it to fill up a piece of paper. Want to try it? She offered the stamp to Joey, and he carefully inked the stamp and pressed it hard on the paper. The red characters gleamed against the whiteness. Wow, that's beautiful, Joey said. Can I keep the paper? Sure, Yoonhai said, and the two of them shared her umbrella as they walked to the school bus. Every day, the jar got fuller with more names, and Yoonhai read them all. She found a few names she liked, Miranda, Stella, Avery. They sounded interesting. I hope you chose the name I put in, Marco told her at snack time. I put in 3 more, said Ralph. Madison, Park, and Lex. They're my favorite street names. Maybe you should close your eyes and draw a name, Rosie suggested. Ralph frowned. That's silly. What if she doesn't like the name she draws? Well, we didn't get to choose our names when we were born, did we? Rosie argued. Everyone thought about this. When Yoonhai got home from school that day, her little brother ran to give her a letter. It was from her grandma. She opened it quickly. It said, To my Yoonhai, I hope you are enjoying your new school and new friends. Be sure to help your mother and your little brother. Here, the moon is up, but there, the sun is up. No matter how far apart we are, and no matter how different America is from Korea, you'll always be my Yoonhai, your grandmother forever. Yoonhai took her wooden stamp filled with a paper in it. She thought for a long time in front of the bathroom mirror. On Saturday, Yoonhai walked to Mr. Kim's store. Mr. Kim was helping a customer, but he looked up and greeted her. Hi, Yoonhai. Hello, Mr. Kim, Yoonhai replied. She felt as if she was back with her old neighborhood in Korea. Hey, said the customer, turning around. It was Joey. Your name is Yoonhee? He asked with his eyes open wide. Yoonhai looked quickly at Mr. Kim and then to Joey. She nodded slowly. Yes, it's pronounced Yoonhai. And it means grace, Mr. Kim added. Yoonhai, Joey said slowly, and this time perfectly. It made Yoonhai smile. I'll have it ready for you tomorrow, said Mr. Kim to Joey. Thank you, Mr. Kim. I'll see you Monday, Yoonhai, Joey said to her. He left before she could ask him why he was at the store. On Monday, Yoonhai came to class early to look at the names one last time, but the jar wasn't on her desk. Instead, there was a single piece of paper with a name on it. Yoonhai slipped it into her pocket. Where's your name jar? Ralph asked as soon as he saw it was gone. I don't know, Yoonhai said. It wasn't on Mr. Kokoto's desk or anywhere else, and it wasn't on the counters or any of the shelves. As other kids arrived, they helped look. Soon, Mr. Kokotos came in, and Ralph shouted at him, The name jar is gone! The jar with all the names in it! Gone? Mr. Kokotos replied. With a look of concern, he asked Yoonhai, Did you get a chance to read all the names? Yoonhai nodded. She took a breath. I'm ready to introduce myself, she said. Yoonhai wrote her name in both English and Korean on the chalkboard. I like the beautiful names and funny names you thought for me, she said to the class, but I realized that I liked my name best, so I chose it again. Korean names mean something. Yoonhai means grace. Grace! Grace! Inhai, shouted Ralph. Everyone tried to say it. Yinha, Unhi. Yoonhai said her name again slowly and clearly. Soon, the kids began to say it better, even Mr. Kokotos. They applauded Yoonhai's choice. I was named after a flower, Rosie whispered to Yoonhai. Lots of American names have meanings, too, Mr. Kokotos reminded everyone. When the class was dismissed, Yoonhai heard her new friend say goodbye. Bye, Yoonhai. See you tomorrow. Goodbye, Yoonhai. Yoonhai said goodbye and then looked around for Joey, but he was already gone. Yoonhai, come downstairs, Mother called up to Yoonhai. Your friend is here. Yoonhai rushed down to see who she meant. There stood Joey, and in his arms was the name jar. Where did you find it? Yoonhai asked breathlessly. Joey looked embarrassed. Well, I took it, but only because I wanted you to keep your own name, and you did. He reached in and pulled out the names. Do you want to keep them? He asked. Thank you. I'll keep them as a souvenir, Yoonhai said happily. Then she pulled out the piece of paper from her pocket. Do you want this back? Joey grinned. You can keep it. I'll return the name jar to the class. Maybe you can put some Korean nicknames in it for us. Names with good meanings. I could do that, agreed Yoonhai. I've already got a Korean nickname, Joey said. Mr. Kim helped me choose it. Carefully, he pulled a small silver felt pouch from his pocket. Then he took out a dark wooden stamp with a beautiful Korean character carved sharply into it. He pressed it on the ink pad and then on the piece of paper next to her name. Jinku, read Yoonhai. That means friend. And Jinku smiled back. Names are a very important part of who we are and our identity. Names mean different things around the world. Do you know why you are named your name? You should ask the person that named you, why did they choose your name? I know whenever we hear a new name, sometimes we might not know how to pronounce it. Me, as a reader, reading to you, I do my best to try to pronounce all of these authors and illustrators' names the correct way. I really like the end of this book, and I'm glad that Yunhai has a lot of new friends in her class, and they're taking the time to understand each other. Thank you for reading and learning with me, and I'll see you next time.